Hi, Everyday Knife Guy here, and today I wanted to look at a budget folder from Kershaw that I've had lying around for quite some time. It hasn't seen a whole lot of pocket time from me, but it's quite an interesting knife nonetheless, so I think it was worthy of an overview. This is the Kershaw Thermite. Comes in the standard Kershaw box there, and you can see Thermite 3880 is the model. In the box, the pretty typical Kershaw manual, basics how to open a knife, and it also has opening speed safe folder because this is an assisted knife. And here you can see the Thermite, and there you go, flies right out with that speed safe opener. You can see it's a flipper or thumb stud opening. This particular knife I find a little bit easier with the flipper. I generally prefer a thumb stud or thumb hole, but the flipper actually is pretty good on this, and the back of this knife being so smooth, I find there's not a lot of purchase for your kind of your stabilizing finger when you're trying to flick open the thumb stud, so definitely flipper is the way to go. So what do we have in terms of the knife? Well, it's a 3.5 inch blade, 8 CR13 MOV, because this is of course made in a far off land, which is why Kershaw can bring this in around about the $30 mark. So it is a budget folder. G10 scale on this side and stainless on the reverse. This is one of the designs that Hinderer did for Kershaw, so there's a little bit of a sort of cryo overtone to it, and I think there's a few interesting points about the design that make it maybe worthy of your collection when it is only about $30. Perhaps rather than a user, it's just a conversation piece, but an interesting blade shape nonetheless. I like the flat ground tip, and the stonewash effect is pretty nice, although I have found it is pretty prone to surface spots or rust, but I do live in a maritime environment, I guess, so always an issue. The G10 on this side, quite grippy. One of my only real gripes with the knife is a pretty arbitrary sort of pattern they have here in the G10. They've milled in this shape here and the reverse on the bottom, as you can see. I think they could have done something a little bit nicer with that, but nonetheless it's pretty grippy. The stainless side on the reverse, you can see a frame lock there, a long frame lock bar, and a little keeper actually to stop it overextending to the outward side. It's quite a nice little feature, and a pocket clip there for deep carry, and it's a 4-position pocket clip, so tip up, tip down, left or right hand, which is quite a nice option. You can see along the spine here the blade has some pretty rounded off jimping, just right above the thumb stud there. It's not particularly grippy, but it's more just an aesthetic really, and as you can see that continues through onto the back spacer here and right the way down to the heel of the knife, so it's quite a nice line to it. I find the shape quite pleasing. I understand it's one of these sort of polarizing designs that it's a real love it or hate it kind of thing, but I find it pretty nice to look at, and pretty good in the hand too. It's quite a nice ergonomic shape. The closed length is 4.9 inches, 8.4 overall, and in my what I would call medium-sized hands, it's pretty comfortable. You can see there's a little bit of handle hanging out the back here, so yeah, certainly pretty nice ergonomic shape and quite a good grip. And as I say, that jimping isn't really aggressive enough to make much difference. There's a very slight raise in the thumb ramp there, but overall you feel like you can get a pretty good purchase on this, and there is definitely a guard shape for the finger there, so you feel like you could do some work with this, but it's, as I say, it's not something that's found a lot of time in my pocket. It does weigh almost 5 ounces, so it is fairly weighty, but saying that, it does have a very nice thin profile, so if you were to wish to do everyday carry this, I'd say it could not disappear in your pocket, but you probably wouldn't notice it too much because it does, as I say, have very nice thin shape, and that deep carry pocket clip is certainly a nice feature. You can see, if I can get some focus here on the blade, you can see there the 3880 is the model number, Hinderer design, and as I say, it is indeed made in China, 8 CR13 MOV steel. This is, as I say, the stonewash version. There is a black wash, which is a pretty nice looking knife as well. One I haven't picked up, and it's maybe, I think it's around $8 more on Amazon, something like that. So if you're looking for an all black look, might be the way to go. So I just want to do a quick comparison of this with another knife that is a little different in its operation. It's not assisted. It is slightly more pricey. Most places you'll see it, but it's a very common knife and one that a lot of us own. So in terms of size, I want to compare this to the Rat 1, which is pretty similar, as you can see by the handle size there. Yeah, almost identical in the closed size, I would say. So we'll open the Rat 1 there. In terms of the blade, let's see. Yeah, the effective edge of the Thermite probably slightly longer, but if you line them up thumb stud to thumb stud, you can see the Rat 1 just slightly longer, and perhaps slightly longer overall. So in terms of in the hand, I mean, I love the Rat 1. It's one of my favorite knives that I own, and as you can see, it's had quite a lot of use. And generally, I like the way it feels in the hand, particularly with the thumb ramp here. But holding this and then holding the Thermite, I actually find this a little more comfortable. I think it's maybe the thinner profile. Just get the fingers right round and get a good solid grip on it there. The Rat 1 maintains the same thickness all the way through, so it does feel a little fat in that bottom edge. So yeah, the Thermite definitely not to be overlooked in terms of if you are looking for a budget user. If it's pretty nicely in the hand, I feel like you do some good hard work with this. Yeah, so see if we can compare the thickness of the knives here. As you can see, it is quite a bit thinner, pretty much equivalent to one scale in both liners of the Rat 1. So if you have one of these lying around, by all means take a look, and that'll give you an idea of what we're talking about. This is a pretty thin knife, and you know, it's certainly an interesting design to look at, even if it's not something you want to be everyday carrying. It's something that's a bit of a conversation piece, I would say. And you know, perhaps depending on your taste in knives, maybe a little bit of a premium look in terms of design. Little features like that keeper there, and the nice elongated frame lock bar. Obviously not the best steel, but it is a Hinderer design on a real budget, so I guess a lot of the price you're paying is really the name of the designer. So one of those things. Anyway, I don't think there's a lot else to say about it. There you have it, the Kershaw Thermite. Thanks for watching, guys.